quarterback movement out west. Geno Smith getting traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Las Vegas Raiders for a third-round pick. One of the biggest moves of the offseason so far, as it's a quarterback, right? And quarterbacks just kind of cause so many dominoes to fall across the entire offense. We're going to talk about kind of in each segment of that offense and what it can mean. Let's start with Geno himself here. Geno Smith, career revitalized 3 years ago, was top 5 quarterback in that first season as a starter in Seattle, then about top 20, top 15-ish kind of guy the following 2 years. Still a startable option, a streamer when you needed to in a pinch. And I think that's probably about the range he'll be here in Vegas. The weapons are obviously a downgrade for him. He goes from, DK Metcalf, JSN, even Tyler Lockett, what he was able to get out of him, to Brock Bowers, but also, Jakobi Meyers, who's fine. And we'll talk about him here in just a second. I think for Geno, one of the big things that's going to change for him also is just the play calling, the sheer volume of plays. In the past, when he was with Pete Carroll, very low volume offense for him. Then last year, things really opened up a little bit for the Seattle game as a whole. The entire offense just ran a lot more plays, and that was really, really good for him. Now, back with Pete Carroll in Vegas, and I think it's just going to cause the volume to dip quite a bit. I think even though they don't have a running back right now, really, per se, they're going to figure that out still. They're going to want to run the ball. That's a Pete Carroll offense. And Chip Kelly also being there as the offensive coordinator. Obviously, he's a guy who in the past has really prioritized the run game during his stops early on in the NFL. But man, that was so long ago. I just have a really hard time translating the Chip Kelly offense from 10 plus-ish years ago to today's NFL. I'm just curious to see how that goes. And you're going to find yourself having more damage speculating too much on what that's going to look like. So for Geno, he's going to slot in as probably a QB2 option for me, and probably a low-end one at that. I don't have rankings at the moment. It is only March, and things are changing quite a bit. I'll get those rankings done after the rookie draft probably, just to kind of see where he actually slots in once we kind of know some more answers. But right now, I would say lower-end QB2, not a guy you're going to be wanting as a starter. In a Superflex league, sure, you could throw him out there if you have to. Going to be more of a stream-type guy, though. Let's talk about the big weapon then, Brock Bowers. So this is a move that I don't think it's catastrophic for Brock Bowers by any means. I think that, it is in general a QB upgrade from like Desmond Ridder, who could have been the starter for him. However, it's not my favorite quarterback pairing. Also not my favorite coach pairing for Brock Bowers either. As I said, Pete Carroll in the past, I know he wasn't calling the plays, but his influence is definitely going to be in there, right? And I think that he wants to be kind of a slower, methodical offense. I think there's a reason that he got a guy he knows in Geno Smith and brought him in that regard. I think that's going to hurt Bowers a little bit. He's still my tight end 1, right? That's not going to change. It's just going to be where does he rank in the overall rankings? Maybe he dips a little bit as far as that's concerned. Geno Smith in this 3-year run that he's had never really used the tight ends much, but at the same time, why would you? He had DK Metcalf, he had JSN, and again, he even had Tyler Lockett, especially 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago for that one. So why would you throw to Noah Fant when you have all those other weapons? So I'm open-minded to the idea that Bowers can still be the number 1 option, obviously, in this offense, and be great. I just have a hard time thinking that that's going to lead to like a round 2 type of fantasy football draft capital that we may have been throwing at him before. Jakobi Meyers, though, he becomes kind of interesting in this regard, where, again, this could have been a quarterback catastrophe for him. Now it's Geno. It at least feels a little bit more reliable, even if it's not. At least feels that way a little bit. So Jakobi Meyers, he could find his way into being the wide receiver 1 in this offense still, and being a serviceable, wide receiver 3, flex option, wide receiver 2 in a good matchup, that kind of a player. Let's talk about the Seahawks side of things. Geno Smith is out. Sam Darnold is in. And it's one of those things where it's just like, do you believe in Sam Darnold? Personally, I kind of don't. I believe in Kevin McConnell and the offense in Minnesota more than I believe in the player that is Sam Darnold. So this move for the weapons, I'm not in love with. I think overall this is a downgrade for JSN. I think that also Cooper Kupp joining the fold here is also a downgrade for JSN compared to where we were at before this entire process started, right? It's a step up maybe from what we could have had there for that brief moment. We didn't know what the quarterback situation was going to be in Seattle. Thought like maybe it was going to be Jackson Dart or something like that. But I think when you look big picture, end of last season versus start of next season, I think it's overall, I'm not as happy with the situation for Jaxon Smith-Njigba as what we would have been. Ken Walker, I really like this for Ken Walker. It feels like an offense that they're really trying to build around the running game a little bit. I think Zach Charbonnet is going to be where Zach Charbonnet always is as an exciting handcuff option. I think Cooper Kupp is just a really weird fit for this offense because you have him and JSN, who both are so good in the slot. Well, Cooper Kupp used to be so good in the slot. We'll see if he still is. So that's it as far as the quarterback movement out in the West. But what about out in the East? We've got a new QB in New York. You can check that video out right now.